Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we'll be talking about the new hit, Sinners. There's been a lot of fanfare about it, a lot of talk about it. It's the new film from director Ryan Coogler, who did Black Panther previously, and it stars Michael B. Jordan, who was also in Black Panther. And it's about two brothers.
You twins? Nah, we cousins.
Smoke and Stack returning to their hometown in Mississippi in the year 1932. They've just come back from the Chicago Outfit, which is an infamous group of gangsters from the 1930s in Chicago. And they brought their mentality back to their hometown in hopes of opening up a juke joint for their people to congregate in. And Smoke and Stack are both African American, so there's a lot of cultural and racial subtext throughout the film. But what Ryan Coogler does is different, is he actually blends that subtext and the history that was going on in the United States at that time, along with monsters. So this is both a historical, cultural, monster film. The question is this a good film?
Listen here, this ain't no house party. Shit. Y'all ready to drink? Y'all ready to sweat till y'all stink?
You want some?
So what really stood out to me about the film was its style and its energy. You know, when I watch a film, I like to just feel it. I like to be engrossed in what's going on. And this was one that kept me awake the whole time. There wasn't really a dull moment, even though I believe the film went on for nearly 2 hours. And there was plenty of action. Despite the structure resembling From Dusk Till Dawn, if you're familiar with that vampire movie, I believe it was written by Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. Some years ago it starred George Clooney as well. The structure was very similar in that you don't get introduced to the vampires till midway through. But in the meantime, you have plenty of great cinematography, lighting, great writing as well. Technically, the film is very well done. It's very well put together.
You keep dancing with the devil.
Careful, boy. You gonna bite off more than you can chew.
What stood out to me most and what I'll remember most for this is it's introducing the audience to the blues. I've been a big blues fan for almost 20 years now, so the references to musicians like Charlie Patton, even the primary characters' names being Smoke and Stack, which has to be paying homage to Smokestack Lightning by Howlin' Wolf, which is one of my favorite blues songs, and most of you have probably heard it if you're not familiar. But the film does a lot to pay homage to that era of music, and it ties and infuses music into the narrative in a way that's definitely unique and definitely makes the film worth watching. With regard to the performances, they were all exceptional in my opinion. Of course, Michael B. Jordan will get most of the accolades because he played two roles, both Smoke and Stack, the twin brothers.
Just power.
Somebody please take me.
We're gonna kill every last one of you.
Miles Caton played their cousin, and he was pretty much the emotional anchor of the film. And I believe it was his debut film as well, and he's a musician, which really helps tie in that musical angle and the theme of the entire film about the power of music, the power of culture, and how it can be a driving force for good or for evil. That's really what the film is about. There was also Lee Jun Lee, who was a great supporting actress. And one of my favorites is Delroy Lindo, who many of you may recognize from several other films in the past. So one of my favorites is Get Shorty that he starred in. But he was definitely one of the more interesting and deeper characters, I felt, which was a nice contrast to some of the, I want to say, less developed characters. That's one of my primary criticisms with this film, is that even though there was a lot of subtext, some of the characters felt that they were only skin deep. And Delroy Lindo kind of transcended that. Miles Caton's character transcended that a little bit. You could get a sense of some background stories for these characters, but overall, I feel like the film kind of shorted itself in terms of depth and all that. To me, the film was very surface level. There was meaning, there was hidden meaning, but it was very ham-handed. You know, without spoiling too much, you know, there's the trope of a black man being taken down by a white woman. You may or may not see that physically happen. There's the Klan trying to subvert black businesses. Pretty overt, everything that occurs within the film. But it does tie back into that vampire theme, and they do a good job of that. Ryan Coogler does a good job of that. Michael B. Jordan, Miles Caton, all of them do a good job of convincing you of the reality of this monstrous world that they're living in.
Hey, I ain't mean to scare you. Thought y'all done forgot about me in here. Come on, open the door, let me on out of here.
Stay. It's you?
Of course it's me, open the door.
That ain't your brother.
So in that way, I feel like the film did deliver on its promise, but the subtext that may or may not accompany many different types of monster movies, particularly zombie movies, there's usually a lot of social commentary. We didn't necessarily get anything too introspective here, in my opinion. And you know, that's not a major criticism because, again, it's a monster movie. You know, who goes to a monster movie for those types of things? But it was one criticism that perhaps there were some ideas that were a little underdeveloped that didn't come to fruition in maybe the way that they were intended to, or maybe not. It's also worth noting that this is an original motion picture, so I always want to support those types of films because, you know, you don't get them all the time anymore. You know, you're usually getting remakes, Marvel movies, something that was adapted. So this one was definitely original, and I really appreciate that from Ryan Coogler and his team, and I want to give them kudos because it takes some guts, it takes a lot of hard work to come up with something from scratch, and they definitely delivered on that end. So now for the moment of truth, my trifecta scale. I like to ask myself these questions to figure out whether a movie is worth your time and whether I truly enjoyed it. So the first question I always ask is, am I happy I saw it? And I can honestly say I'm thrilled that I saw Sinners. There was a lot of noise about it, a lot of chatter. It looked good. Who doesn't like a good vampire film? And I saw it was a different type of atmosphere and environment for vampires. So I'm happy I went in there to see it. And, you know, there's really nothing that took away from it except maybe the outside chatter about the subtext and what the film was about. But really, I was just curious to know what all the hype was about. So I'm glad I went in there to find out for myself, and I definitely think that it was a good usage of my time. The second question I always ask myself is, would I recommend it to a friend? Which means, did I enjoy it, and do I feel like it would be worth your time? And if you're interested in vampire movies, if you're a fan of Ryan Coogler or Michael B. Jordan or anybody or original motion pictures, then I would absolutely recommend it. And I recommend that anybody go out there and support original motion pictures because we need more of that. You know, a lot of people are tired of the old retread films and reproductions and all that. So this is a good way to speak with your dollars and show the studios that you're interested in more original films and more original content. So I would absolutely recommend seeing it. For you, if you just want to see a vampire movie or if you're looking forward to changing the way that the industries are going about producing films. The third question I ask is, would I see it again? And this is where I have to give myself a little pause because there wasn't anything that truly blew me away about the film. Now, again, there was plenty of conversation out there about the hidden meanings. I am a little curious about that, but I didn't really see that was an essential part of the film. I don't feel like I was missing anything by either not picking up or, you know, not even believing that it was there. So that's my review. If you saw Sinners, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts were. Am I missing something about the subtext? Was there more meaning to it? Just let me know in the comments because, you know, I do feel like, you know, compared to other people, I must have missed something, but I'm not sure that there was anything there for me to miss.